Love it. And as we get ready to get started, I do have to call your attention to Braxton in the room, who actually inadvertently showed up as an AI avatar at an AI presentation we did at a training event, much to his chagrin. But Brad, I teased him. I said, we're going to do a whole social media campaign now that I have your face and your voice about where in the world is Braxton, but I've not launched that. So you'll have to put a little, as you get through the day and get to meet one another and chat together, you can do some of that celebration too. Good to see you.
That was an amazing demonstration of what AI could do with using Braxton's picture and his AI learning voice. That was great.
Yeah, it's also an introduction to the risks of AI, which Sarah will get into in today's conversation and presentation.
I apologize also for not having any music ready. I really forgot where Zoom put the setting to play music, but just pretend that Taylor Swift is playing right now as we build up and let more people through the door.
Is there anyone musical who would like to hum?
Yeah.
I mean, Jack did a whole presentation on music, so I feel like he is the one to do this.
Oh gosh, I was not prepared for that. What would be the perfect song to play for a training video about AI? Maybe like Justin Timberlake and 50 Cent, AO Technology. Maybe that would be one.
I can do it.
It's a little bit dirty of a song. I mean, it doesn't really correlate. Just do that little blip about technology, nothing else.
Have AI generate it.
There we go.
Yeah.
So Chat GPT or Claude. Love it.
Okay, awesome. We have a few more people trickling in, but it is 12:05, so let's go ahead and get started. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for coming to our webinar, Make AI Work for You, Practical Tools for Hospitality Trainers. I will be your host and MC. My name is Sarah Delgado, and I am the Product Marketing Manager here at Opus. If you were at the most recent chart conference in Orlando, I was there with the rest of the Opus team. If not, like, it's really nice to meet you. And before we get started, I'd love to introduce our lovely panelists who you probably already know. We have Donna Herbel and Jack Woznick joining us today. So pass it off to you guys.
Fantastic. Well, just want to start with hello, I'm Donna Herbel. I know I look like the guy who might be Jack, but I'm not. So this is me. I'm the founder and chief igniter with Blue Phoenix Learning. But prior to that work, I've been in hospitality learning and development for 25 years. If you're doing the math, I was 6 years old standing on a pickle bucket. That's all you need to know. But passionate about tech and training and kind of a closet nerd. So thrilled to be sharing and learning with all of you here today. So, and I'll pass it over to my co-panelist, Jack.
Oh, cool. Thanks, Donna. Hey, everyone. I'm Jack Woznick. I am sitting in Milwaukee, Wisconsin currently. Been in restaurants since I was 15, which is, I have like a fun math joke lined up, but it's been a long time. I love the industry. I love the experiences. Was in operations for about 20 years when I decided to go back, get my master's. My passion is for training and development, and landed this gig with a restaurant group here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. We have 6 different concepts, 11 locations, and we're finally starting to get back into growth mode. I was thrown into kind of like the tech space as well when my first task was to open 4 restaurants in the first year on a brand new POS. And then from there, anything technology wise kind of landed in my lap. So by default, I've grown to love technology, and I love this topic. I love Sarah, I love Opus, I love Donna. I got to meet her down at Chart. And I just want to say thank you all for being here. You are all fantastic for taking the time out of your schedule to develop yourselves and just learn more. And it's just really important. And I'm very, very proud of you. And I'm excited to get this going.
Wow, that was a really lovely intro. Thank you, Jack. Okay, so upon registration, when you signed up for the webinar, we took in a quick question just to see what tools everybody was using and what familiarity the registrants for today's session would have with AI. So for further ado, just want to share a bit of data. Oh my gosh. Okay. So using a little word cloud, which I love to show, the top response was ChatGPT, which is awesome. We're going to be demonstrating a lot of ChatGPT today. Canva came up in second, which is awesome also because we're demoing a ton of Canva's magic design tools. And then a lot of other noteworthy shout outs were Synthesia, Beyond, Midjourney, Vidyard. So I think what we're basically starting to see is everybody's starting to experiment with the AI at their disposal. So this, just for a disclaimer, is an open session for anyone to contribute any tips. If you have any questions at any point, feel free to drop them in the chat of the Zoom. I will be monitoring that. But I'm truly here to let Donna and Jack just take the lead in all of our demonstrations. If you have any questions directly to me, you can also chat in the Zoom to me specifically so that nobody else can see. But without further ado, let's dive in. Awesome. So we're all here to talk about generative AI. So what is generative AI? We know that AI first entered the scene with OpenAI, launching ChatGPT, which is essentially a product that lets you interface with an AI language model. Generative AI is essentially a collection of algorithms and data and models that mimics our natural language and input to create content. So things that you might be familiar with are text, image, video, voice. The really cool thing about generative AI, and honestly, who better to tell me what generative AI is than ChatGPT itself, was to ask it directly, like, hey, what are you? And using all of these algorithms and all of these massive data sets, AI can mimic our text, our image. It knows how we communicate. It has the entire internet of information. So basically, it's able to kind of generate answers based on like the input. So think of, generative AI as like this amazing assistant, or even kind of like an intern, where the more specific you are with your instructions and the more context you give it, the more accurate of an output it's going to be able to give you. So within the world of AI, we know that there are a few things to get out of the way, especially as we examine all of these tools. There are a few pros and cons with using AI in your L&D strategy. So the things that you have to gain from using AI-powered tools would be efficiency and speed. You're going to get a lot of things done faster. You're going to save a ton of time on tasks that don't really enrich your day-to-day. You're also going to be able to get a variety of content. So AI can be used to generate images and videos. At Opus, we have it to generate like emojis too. So based on the type of content you're trying to create, AI can really help enrich that with very little effort on your part. And then personalization. The more that you use ChatGPT and the more that you use AI-powered tools, it starts to understand what you're trying to do and what your content is about. Cons to keep in mind, so quality control. We can't trust everything we read off the internet, especially the things that the internet creates on its own. So human intervention is still required. You do need to look at the output, read it, assess it, make sure that it's on brand, make sure that the information that you're about to disperse to your team members is correct. There is also an initial learning curve with any tool, just like any technology. What's great is that the internet is so vast that there are how-to guides and little tutorials, and then webinar sessions like these that you can get hands-on demonstrations so that you can kind of jump the learning curve. And then adaptability. So this technology is going to change all the time. If you've used ChatGPT, you'll see that there are 2 versions that you can use. 3.5 only goes up to data that was collected up until September 2021. And then the paid version of GPT 4.0 is a little bit more up to date and has an added cost to it. So just staying up to date with the latest is not necessarily the most important thing, but you have to be willing to adapt and know that this technology is changing basically every day. Great. So let's dive into our hands-on demonstrations. In the promotion of our webinar, we pulled a few tools based on what you guys have said you've been using, and then also ones that we wanted to share. So without further ado, we can go into Canva.
Yes, AI in action. All right, let's share my screen here. Sarah, do you want to give me
Yeah,
access? Yeah.
Working on it right now. We have so many participants, it's actually kind of hard to find you in. All right, you should be good to go.
Awesome. All right, let me share my screen, make sure that everyone can see it. Sarah, are we good?
Good to go.
All right, fantastic. All right, so there are 3 really great AI tools that Canva uses that I want to quickly demonstrate just because I am going to move through it rather quickly because we do have a lot of fun things that we want to show you. So let's get started. The first thing I want to show you is a tool called Magic Design out of Canva. This is actually a free function if you want to join Canva for free. And it's going to start by logging in and you're going to click create design. Now, the Magic Design actually to get started only works when you select a presentation 16:9. For those of you familiar with Canva, you are able to resize and change the format of your presentation if you like. That is a pro feature as well. So that is a paid feature. But this is great, at least to get you started with some ideas. So we're going to click on create a presentation 16:9, and then Canva has their what they call their Canvas assistants. I'm just going to click on these fun little stars, and under recommended actions is we're going to see Magic Design. If you don't see it, you can simply just type in to find all of their fun stuff, and it's going to pop up in a dialog box for us. And, you know, speaking with Donna and Sarah earlier this week, we're going to kind of follow the same sort of topic over across all of these different tools. That way we can kind of get an idea of how different AI can work, and based on what we put in, even though it's the same subject, what sort of content it's going to bust out. So our topic is going to be very, very approachable. And it's going to be, I want to train people how to properly wash their hands and the importance of it. So I'm going to use Magic Design. I'm going to say, you know, restaurant manager needs to train their new employees the importance of washing their hands, if I could type, and how to the importance of. I ran out of characters. New employees, how to wash their hands. There we go. And I'm going to hit enter. And now it's going to create a presentation for me. I'm going to get anywhere from, that is really embarrassing. Why did that not work? New restaurant manager needs to train their new employee how to wash their hands. All right. Now it's going to pop out probably about 6 to 8 different template styles for me to choose from, which is really kind of cool. So we can see over here, I have 8 different templates to choose from. Once I highlight one over on the right-hand side of this dialog box, it's going to show me all the different slides, what they look like. So I can kind of quickly run through these and see, okay, maybe this is the style that I like. Maybe this is going to be the easiest one for me to customize for my brand. I'm not sure if any one of you has a particular one. I kind of like that one that I just looked at. Once you find the one, then you can do create my presentation. For those of you who are familiar with Canva, from here, the sky is the absolute limit as far as editing photos, editing dialogue, font, size. But for the most part, using Magic Design, it just busted out 7 slides for me that I can use in a presentation. I could use Canva to do a quick voiceover or video over. I could export this as an MP4 as a video file, upload it into my LMS. But Magic Design is really great to just kind of get you started, especially if you're someone who, you know, I'm not a super creative person when it comes to like graphic design. So like having a kind of a kickstart to show me to display things, Magic Design is very, very helpful. It came up for the next tool in regards to, well, maybe I don't want or need 7 different pieces of template, right? Maybe I just want a one sheet. If I go back, I'm going to just go home real quick and just start, let's just say just like a regular document here. I can use the app inside Canva, and it's called Magic Write. Just kidding. I'm going to use the my AI assist over here as soon as I get my Zoom button out of the way. Magic Write, and it's going to be very, very similar to the Magic Design. So I'm going to use the same phrase. So restaurant manager needs to train new employee how to wash their hands. And I'm going to click generate. Now, instead of giving me like the design, the slides, the template, Magic Write is what I use it for is really purely for content. This is a great tool for people who are super creative and or people that are looking to specifically design things with their brand imaging, their brand fonts, their brand logos. Maybe it's just a topic that you're not super comfortable with or not like a subject matter expert, but you're just like, hey, I really need something to get me going, to get kick-started. Magic Write is a great way to kind of get that content. And then as most of you know, if you're Canva users, customizing this, you can copy and paste, you can add more pages to make that a one sheet. I'm going to continue this example and use the last tool that I want to showcase. And this is by searching in their apps, and it's called text to image. And, you know, sometimes I find myself searching the internet for a very, very specific photo because of maybe just the piece of content that I'm creating. Text to image in Canva is super cool because you can basically put in exactly what you want, and it's going to use its AI features to kind of generate a photo for us. It doesn't necessarily need to be a photo that already exists on the internet. So very, very basic approach. We could just say kitchen worker washing their hands. We could choose from different styles, whether it's filmatic, watercolor, anime. We can choose the aspect ratio as well. If we create our image, what it's going to do, it's going to use its AI functions, and it's going to translate my text into an image and give me a bunch of different options for me to choose from. And then I can choose the one that I like. Now, I might not like any of these. Well, very easy. I can just start over. Maybe I can just change the wording a little bit. Maybe it doesn't need to say kitchen worker. Maybe it just needs to say employee. Or I could be even more specific and say, you know, kitchen team member wearing a hat at a donut shop washing their hands, and it will create an image for me as well. So that's a very, very quick rundown of the Canva tools. We talked about Magic Design, Magic Write, and text to image. You know, shamelessly, YouTube is an incredible outlet, especially even if you're a beginner or never even used Canva before, or if you've been using Canva for as long as I have. There's always something on YouTube that can find out and elaborate more if you're looking to do something specific. But that's all I have for Canva for right now. I'm going to release the screen share and pass it on to Miss Donna and Sarah to drive.
Thanks, Jack. I have one quick question for you on Canva. So about like, what was the last use case you had for Canva? What was the last thing that you created?
The last thing I created, we are doing a perfect check contest here in Brookfield, where we want our servers and bartenders to have like a, you know, sell a drink, sell an app, sell an entree, and sell a dessert. They get a $100 gas card from a very popular gas station chain called Quick Trip. I'm not sure if y'all familiar with it, but Quick Trip is like got a cult following here. In full transparency, I've been temporary GM of a location for like the last 12 weeks. So I have done very little content development, which has been very difficult, especially after leaving Chart, where I just wanted to like lock myself in a room and do nothing but content develop and use all the tools that I shamelessly stole from everyone there. Yeah.
Amazing. Okay, great. Does anybody have any questions about the Canva demo or any questions about getting started with the Canva account? I do believe that a lot of the Magic Design features are part of a Canva Pro account, but they offer free trials. So it's a pretty fun tool to get started with. Awesome. Okay, great. Moving on to our next tool. I think this one has a lot of wow factor to it. Beyond Go, which came up a lot in our registration form. Beyond Go is a video creation tool. They recently released like their new AI feature. I think it's still technically in beta, But I am going to let Donna dictate while I drive for a full demonstration.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. So Sarah's going to go ahead and hop us into the Vion Go platform. If you haven't worked with Vion, they do have a free trial where you can actually go ahead and generate up to 3 videos to kind of try it out. There's also a couple of very recognizable multi-unit brands in our industry. For example, Dairy Queen, and throughout they're providing training for their franchise system. Scooter's Coffee is another that's done really great case study with Vion. So we've come into the Vion platform, we've clicked on Vion Go, which is in beta. And so, man, kind of coming back to what we just saw with Jack, I need to do something on hand washing, right? So if you think about the topic, and our topic is teaching new employees how to properly wash their hands in the restaurant industry and why it matters. And while Sarah's typing like a mad woman, you'll notice Vion actually has a richer text box. So one of the things to be mindful of, you saw in Canva, you were limited to 100 characters. The topical text box, as you see here, is 4,000 characters. We've put in a prompt of 100. So we could put in more detail if we wanted to. Things like make sure to include, if I was teaching a serve safe tutorial, make sure to include like what CDC risk factors this mitigates. We're not going to type that, Sarah, way too much information. But the moral of the story is when you're prompting in Vion Go, this session can take a lot more text, so you can provide a lot more rich detail. We'll look at that later. The other things we love here is we get to kind of pick or provide some guidance on what we want to do. So I'll just invite you kind of following along. What do we think? Should we be formal, informative, casual, or playful? Anybody have some thoughts on that? How many? Give me a thumbs up if we should be playful, because this is a webinar. Should we be playful today? I see a couple thumbs up and we're doing it. Thank you so much. We're going to be playful today. So we're going to be playful. And I think the format is actually going to be a how-to, because we're doing training, right? So we're not talking about it. We're like, here's how to do it. And then the layout, we can be a talking head, which is someone talks to the learner, or there's a conversation style. And I like to showcase the conversation style because I find that a little bit more engaging. It's where you're sitting like a third party on a dialogue between 2 people instead of just being talked at them. And then you get to choose your scene. We decided we're in a restaurant, so maybe we should scroll through and see if there's any restaurant looking themes in here. There might be a fast food restaurant. If we, oh, there we go. Fast food dining. That looks about right. What do you think? We're in hospitality. Let's use that scene. And then we're going to go ahead and click on create this video. And it's going to take a minute to render. And some of you are thinking, I have been working for 6 hours on a video and this is just happening now. I can't believe it. It's super exciting. While this is rendering, I do want to share that if they've upgraded their closed caption tool, we're going to come back to that in just a moment, because we're going to take a look at a video brand at Braxton, and then we're going to kind of dig in. So as you can see, this video is rendered. It's kind of loading right now. We are in the free trial demo. That's why there's a big Vion in the middle. Paid subscription takes that out. And the other note, if you do use Vion's paid subscription, you can actually create your own restaurant scene or your own brand scene. So all of the videos you generate kind of look authentic to your brand or your hotel property or your restaurant. So can we try to go ahead and click play, Sarah, and see if we can watch a video? See if we get audio. I don't know if you guys can hear it or not. If not, that's okay. We can probably see if we can drop a link in the chat, perhaps a little later in this video. But what you'll see when you generate, and we can let it play for just a moment and kind of talk through what's happening. On the right-hand side, you see by scene, the icon for the character, the text that's been generated for that character. And then Vion has actually automatically generated the voice narration. So upon clicking play, you actually hear these characters speaking this dialogue. And so we can kind of read along. Hey, can you show me? Sure, like this. Yep. And unfortunately, we say it's a demo, but it doesn't look like we might be demonstrating. So we might do some modification with characters, scenes, or actions. All of that is customizable in Vion. The other piece that we'll showcase, and again, we'll look at this more in depth, is once the video is generated, if you wanted to make modifications, you can. And so, for example, if we look at, okay, got it. So we say, okay, got it. How long should I be washing my hands for? You should be washing your hands for at least 20 seconds or about the length of time of singing Happy Birthday twice. We all kind of know that. But maybe I wanted to make a modification in there. I probably wouldn't because that's the standard. Singing Happy Birthday twice or singing a different favorite song, singing Happy Birthday, maybe we'll say 3 times. We know that's not true, but you could sing it 3 times. If we change the words, then it'll regenerate, it will modify the character, it will modify the audio. And so editing here is once it's kind of set up with your assets, editing is pretty simple with Vyond. So that's kind of just a highlight. A couple of other key things if you're playing in the even in the demo to check it out. If you want to learn more, you see at the top of the text column, you can click on those avatars. You can make different avatar selections. So the change out is really easy. Or if you have to make change to a script, you can call out just the script point of the different characters in the scenes. So those are kind of some highlights. I hope that was kind of fun and interesting. And like I said, we'll take a deeper look in a moment. And now, Braxton, this might have to be an all play. So with regard to Vyond, it doesn't provide closed captioning automatically. It required to type out the script. And Braxton loves Vyond, except for the closed captioning element. I have seen Vyond outputs with closed captioning, Braxton, but I'm going to have to do some diligence while Jack talks us through ChatGPT and come back to us. I have an instinct that says there is the ability to put narration into slide, but worst case scenario is it remains a manual process. So that was a bucket of no answer, but I'm going to learn more.
Thanks, Donna. And just really quickly, I can actually share my computer sound, so we can watch the video.
I don't think the audio is coming through.
I'm not hearing anything.
Oh no! Wait, I'm sorry. Thanks for letting me
All
know.
good. If we'd like to use our imagination, I would be happy to voice character 1. I'm just kidding. Liam, you might be on mute. If you hop off, you can kind of help. I see your mouth moving. Did you say you'll voice character 2, Liam? Is that what we're doing? I love it. Love it. Yeah, so we'll take a look. We actually have embedded audio in an upcoming segment, so we'll try audio again in a little bit.
All right, thanks. My bad, guys. Okay, so something I really also want to point out, what you'll see a lot in these tools is a bunch of disclaimers saying, scripts are made with generative AI and may not always provide accurate results. You'll see that in Canva too. It's just like a quick disclaimer to kind of remind you that, there is a little quality check that needs to be done. I think things like hand washing and topics where like knife safety or even wine glass polishing, where there's so much literature on the internet, those are really great examples of topics to use generative AI for. Awesome. All right.
Actually, I do have one small update. Thank you for that short segue. Braxton, to more fully answer your question, if you do go into Vyond and go into help, they actually have a tutorial on generating subtitles and captions, currently in beta, but is available.
That was more my question, if it was going to be like a new enhancement, but it sounds like it's in beta, so that's good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Awesome. Does anybody here who submitted Vyond Go and part of the webinar registration want to share how they've used it in the past or what they like about it? No? Okay.
That group.
Okay, we can move on then. So ChatGPT, which I think we're all familiar with. Jack, I'll let you take it away as our in-house expert.
Yeah, for sure. I think that, were you going to drive, Sarah, as far as, I mean, I guess, the discussion about what we want to chat about with Chat GPT. And the first thing I want to share with, especially now that we've seen Canva and now we've seen Beyond Go, as far as like the prompt, and, Canva limiting us to 100 characters. Beyond Go was, let us do up to 4,000 characters. And the general rule of thumb, right, is the more specific you can be, the better results that you're going to get. And the more that you use it, the more AI is going to learn. So I'm going to throw in our group chat for everyone, the AI prompt outline that was shared by Donna, actually, in chart. I took a picture of it, and it's kind of in my Bible, so to say, as far as my prompts. And as you can see, and if you can't see it, that's fine. I think that we were going to send it out in the recap email, where we start with our expert persona. Who is the teacher? Where is this information? Where do you want this information coming from? What is the action? What are you trying to accomplish? What's the format that you want? How long do you want it? What is the goal? What's the objective? How do you want the output? And what do you want it to include? And then what's the tone? You want it fun? Do you want it serious? And then for what audience? And ChatGPT is, we could write a very generic, teach me how to wash hands. We could compare that to a much more outlandish, I guess, using this AI prompt and be way more specific and probably get a much better output based on our prompt. So I'm not sure. Okay, you want me to share? Yeah, got it. Just make sure that we're good in here. Hopefully everyone can see my screen.
We've got you.
Okay, cool. All right, so let's just see how to. Sorry, we'll take an example of, a very, very generic prompt and what GPT is going to output for us. Well, it's actually way more than what I thought. And this is incredible. I love this stuff. So we can see wet hands, we can steps. Now let's kind of follow that outline. And we're going to say, health inspector to teach new employees in a restaurant in less than 5 minutes how to wash their hands properly, and the importance for health safety in a casual, fun way. And I already have my new employees there. I just put it in the middle instead of the end. And we can just kind of compare what it's generating based on the specificity. I don't even know if that's a word. If not, I just made it up, of my prompt. And we can already see that the tone is different. Suds up, jazzy jam session. Let's get musical, sing happy birthday. So very, very quick demonstration of the importance of prompts. I know that, I kind of, again, shamelessly stole this from Donna, so I'm not sure if Donna wants to elaborate more about the Chat GPT, or if Sarah does, or if any of you have questions about Chat GPT and how you're using it, what you've learned.
Yeah, there's one quick thing I think is really worth highlighting with ChatGPT. It's available on all free accounts. So if you click on the little 3 dots next to your name in the bottom left corner, set your custom instructions, and then custom instructions. So a big piece of using ChatGPT is laying out context. Without context, it's just going to give you the most generic answer based on your inputs. So custom instructions basically help you provide specific details and guidelines for ChatGPT so that it already has a baseline understanding of who you are and what you're trying to create. So Jack, if you want to hit OK. Right. So you can say, I am an instructional designer, or I'm a training director. My goals are teaching restaurant employees.
I really put my typing skills on blast.
And then you can even say that, like, you know, my tone and our brand is inclusive, it's humorous, and we like to use emojis. And basically, ChatGPT will take all of this into consideration when it's giving you a response.
I don't know how to spell gifts. I'm just going to say emojis.
It's okay. Has anybody used custom instructions yet, by the way, when they mess around with ChatGPT at all?
I'm sorry, but is that just on Pro, the custom instructions, or because I've been using ChatGPT, I just didn't know about the custom instructions. Would you show me where that was one more time?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Me neither, Monique. I'm seeing your text too. I've been using this for a minute.
Yeah, custom instructions used to be part of the paid plan. But just within about the past 3 weeks, they've released the custom instructions functionality into 3.5 Turbo so this is something everyone can use. The one caveat I will tell you though is if your outputs aren't working for you, if you have to write something that's infrequent in tone, like for example, you regularly write or craft content for hourly training, but suddenly you have to do a presentation for your CEO to present to the board of directors, you have to, it's going to push the custom instructions. So if all of a sudden you're like, this is not working, you might just have to sweep your custom instructions, modify them, and then there's a click where you can modify them for go forward, and then you can go back and kind of toggle it on and off. So right now you can't do multiple custom instructions, but you can set a general persona and tone that helps make that prompting more efficient.
That's
Awesome.
great. Thanks, Donna. Thanks, Sarah. Sarah, you want me to jump over to Opus for a hot second?
Oh, sure. Yeah, be my guest.
Cool. I would love to do this because I feel like this is kind of a culmination of everything minus the video, but Opus has an amazing AI tool to use to kind of combine all this in a centralized platform where I can create the content, the fun emojis, the fun GIFs, questions right into an LMS course that I can just blast out to all my team members as well. So it's an incredible benefit of being an Opus member. And I am just going to showcase just very quickly, just because I know that we're running out. I want to leave enough time for the next one and a Q&A at the end. If I create a new course in here, and again, I want to use the same topic just because being consistent throughout. If I create a course, I can use their AI generated course assist beta. And I'm going to type in something very similar. So restaurant manager needs to train their kitchen employees how to properly wash their hands. Opus also has the ability to set a tone, which we've seen in other platforms as well, whether it's formal, whether it's funny, neutral, serious, or conversational. I like to keep things fun. That's just kind of the tone of our brand. And then it also asks, because their AI tool has the ability to set activity and interactiveness based on quiz questions, and we can choose to say no interaction at all the way up to like the most possible. Let's just see what most interactivity means or looks like. With it being funny, we can generate course, and that is going to initiate Opus to do its magic, and it will actually build a course for me. Now, if none of you have seen Opus in real life before, I think the easiest way to describe it for me to people is it's basically like TikTok. So each one of these screens that are being developed over here is a swipe up. If you've all used TikTok before, you know, to see the next screen, you just swipe up. And that is, in a nutshell, that's how I describe it to our new team members as well. So what Opus is doing is now it is creating each screen that a team member would scroll up as they work their way through the course. They have already put in images for us. We can select different images if we want to choose a different image. Editing content is very easy because I can just come in here and edit it. And it's going to work my way through. So I can review the content. I can review the types of questions that it's also generating as well, which is great. So in case I want to be a little bit more specific, or maybe I don't like that image, or maybe I don't like the way that question is worded, or maybe I want to throw in some goofy answers. It's all very customizable, but it works very, very similar. It's just the output is different because it's built into this LMS. So it's creating the course in the LMS. So, Sarah, hopefully I did a decent job. I could talk about Opus for the next too long, but I just, you know, we thought it was a good opportunity for for to see an LMS using AI in Opus.
No, that was great. Thank you. Like a built-in advertisement. Yeah, so we actually use GPT 3.5 and 4 to generate text and images to help you build courses in a matter of minutes. And that's what Jack just demonstrated. One special tip that I wanted to share with ChatGPT is that you can use it for more than just text. So I know that everybody here has some experience with it, and that ChatGPT is something that you can kind of talk to. It's really fun, actually, if you get bored and you just want to talk about the universe. I don't know if you've ever done that before, but a glass of wine and eating ChatGPT can be kind of fun. But recently, after I went to Chart, we had a raffle and collected all these business cards, information. I got to meet so many new people. And basically, like, I needed to organize all of this information that I had like kind of intaken into a data into a CSV file. So just a quick little demonstration. So without giving away too much information, I copied and pasted all of this information. And I said, organize this list of contacts into a CSV file that separates by first name, last name, company name, phone number, and email. And ChatGPT was able to send that to me here. And this is just the raw output. I copy this code, and then I can copy and paste it into a Google Sheet so that I have all of my data organized the way that I need it. So you're not limited to just text and content creation. The limits of ChatGPT are basically as big as your imagination and whatever you can kind of thoughtfully instruct it to do. Any questions on that?
No questions, but a huge thank you for that. That is
Awesome. Okay, so our next tool that I wanted to get into, so we've covered text, we've covered images and design, we've covered video. The last point is voiceovers. So text-to-speech is a huge application of generative AI. I mean, generative AI is really good at mimicking our language, so it makes sense that a lot of applications use this to transform text into voiceovers. So does anybody use voiceovers in their training currently? Yeah, Donna. Great, here, happy to dive in.
And I saw some nods about using voice. And so if you're the person who's doing the recording or there's a person on your team, there's a lot of solutions right now in AI which can use the text to speech, text to voice. We saw an example of that in Vyond, right, where it took some text and threw some voices on it. There's some solutions, and again, we're demonstrating the ideas today. There's a lot of different platforms that do many of the functions we've looked at. And so we're going to really just take a quick look at Well Said Labs. 11 Labs would be another. Descript does some really good work with it. There's a lot of solutions that provide this. So in this case, basically you pick an avatar, and it's a voice avatar. And so in Well Said Labs, there's different kind of characters that have characteristics. If you click on Genevieve for a moment, just show us the pop-up, Sarah. You kind of see here's some of the different avatars that exist. It gives them a name, but kind of gives you an idea of kind of what's the tone, what's the pronunciation, enunciation, are they conversational, are they informative? So you can kind of pick your right tone. And so we'll just grab a generic one. It can be Eric or whoever, but you pick an avatar. And then up here, you just you literally drop in a script. You put in the words. And in this case, we're going to say, hey, goody for us on hand washing, because I wish I would have taken paragraph 1 out of Jack's ChatGPT, or actually maybe it was the 4th one about high five the towel, because I would have a trainer say that, man, it's time to high five the towel. But you're just going to drop in some text here, and then yeah, here's how to wash your hands, or yeah, perfect. And then just very simply, if you go down that green button to create a single take, if you wanted to run the whole paragraph at once, it'll kind of read it, it'll generate it, but click the drop down for a moment. If you have a large body of script with a single voice that you're going to put into whatever your design tool is, and you need multiple audio files, then you want to render by paragraph instead of render by whole. That just is a little time saver. So that's kind of just a quick tip. But if we go ahead and hit render, it'll make the voice, or we can just play the voice. If we're back on audio, we can check it. There's, when it comes to any of these solutions, it's really about select the voice. I'm not as proficient with Well Said Labs. I know in 11 Labs, and that was kind of the example we showcased at the Orlando Chart Conference, you can actually take about 3 minutes of just talking and train the AI on your voice. So if for whatever reason it has to be your voice in your brand or your chef's voice in your brand, you can actually use AI trained on natural voice. You want to get permissions, right? Sign something up that's like, I will actually use your voice responsibly and you let me do it. But then you don't have to stop the train and get the chef to record. You can actually take the image, put in an avatar, and they can just approve the messaging instead of taking time out of, making it a big production. So we want to pause for some questions. I want to make sure as well that we leave some time for Q&A. So I don't want to shortchange the conversation, but I want to share with us the highlights as well. Any other questions, or Sarah, Jack, things to add?
I want to see.
Here's how to properly wash your hands.
There it is. Fantastic. Eric's a nice man. He sounded so pleasant. I would have him talk stuff. So that's what you heard. We didn't do anything except say, this is the voice. This is what he wants him to say. And you can kind of hear that there's some inflection, and there's some different ways to customize the inflection as well to meet your needs.
One quick thing I wanted to share. I ran a test earlier on knife safety. So you can really input. I think like ChatGPT and Well Said Labs go hand in hand really nicely together, because you'll have like the written script from which you can edit, and then all you have to do is copy and paste it into Well Said Labs or 11 Labs and get the voiceover.
Yeah. And that's a great use of prompt when you come back to generate a script, like generate the words. And then the one thing you'll want to do is always read any script outputs, modify them. I recommend modifying them in a separate doc and just saving them for later in case you ever need to come back to it. Who knows in 5 years how these platforms will continue to evolve. Thank you.
Great. Okay, so we are coming up on time. We have about 10 minutes left in the session. We did prepare in this presentation that we're going to share after the session with a link to the recording. We did prepare a little demonstration of how to build one piece of training across all of the platforms. So the example in the deck is customer service basics using a few AI-powered tools. This is something that Jack had suggested us as a prompt. Kind of walking you through the steps. Donna's prepared like really handy Loom videos, kind of showing you a tutorial of the steps that she takes in between each tool. And these are all Loom videos I can play here.
And I'd be happy just briefly, kind of, when you watch this, there isn't audio on it because sometimes that can be distracting, but you can pause it where you want to. You can take a look at the rich prompt. You can look at the output, and then you can find when we look at the output, I think you see it here, like we said, hey, let's be all about customer service. And it's like, you have a problem with your laptop. And we're like, that's not a restaurant thing. So it also gives you an example of how to reprompt. So you can see that we just go ahead and kind of modify it and then rerun it. So, and that's kind of the highlight in this segment on step 1. You can pause it, take a richer look at the prompt, but you also saw kind of the prompt outline in the chat for today's session. And then keep in mind when you work, this is a learning process. So if you get an output you don't like, refine it. Like, hey, take that output, but do this with it. Or take that output and do this with it. Because any of these tools kind of remember the sequence of the chat that you're in. Kind of the next highlight that we wanted to look at is, thank you. Kind of the next one that we just kind of wanted to look at. This is a deeper demo for that Well Said Labs. This is an example, and it just shows you how we copied a piece of script that was generated out of ChatGPT, and literally just hopped into Well Said Labs, pasted it in, picked some humans, said go for it, and created an audio output. And then at that point, you could download the audio output and you can put it into wherever you'd normally put an audio file. Whether that's, an Adobe suite, an Articulate suite, You can even put it into a Canva. If you're using Canva presentations, you can upload stock audio there as well. Awesome. And then next up, with regard to Beyond, and this was where I just really wanted to, oops, this one does have audio, my bad. You're gonna hear a lot of clicking and absolutely no talking, so just go ahead and mute that off when you need to, but I think I left it up because you will actually hear in this one the video that's generated. But what I really wanted to showcase here was we took that huge Chat GPT prompt of give me everything you got on a customer service basics, dropped it into the prompt,
Hey,
and now
have you heard about the 3 essential customer service behaviors in the restaurant industry?
Absolutely.
So I think those are just kind of some highlights. You can watch it when you get the recording. And then it also shows you kind of modifying. I think in this example, it was like, hey, if there's a problem with their steak and we're like, we're fast food, we're not doing steak. So talk to me about a shake, you'll see that. So we can go ahead and hop forward, Sarah.
Awesome.
Because this is the important part, the sharing and Q&A.
Great. I really wanted to just pause right for a moment. If anybody has any questions that you haven't gotten a drop in the chat, feel free. We will move on to Q&A, which will be more of like a live discussion. But if you have any tools that you want us to revisit or any demonstrations of like Canva or ChatGPT that you wanted us to go back to, feel free to make those requests. Awesome. So prior to the webinar, I reached out to a few of you to ask for tips on AI, on how you use AI in your day-to-day and anything that you'd be willing to share during the session. I really like to spotlight Kristen Broadhead, who came through with really exceptional tips and tricks. Let me see here. So first one being like ask your vendors for in-depth demonstration. If anybody has demoed with Opus, then you know that we are big on the in-depth demo. For you and your team. So we do have dedicated teams who are willing to go into the product and like kind of show you everything for free. All of the AI powered tools that we have, they do have dedicated account managers and customer success managers that you can reach out to so that you don't have to go into it cold. Really great ways to use AI is just like role play scenarios. So ChatGPT, I think, responds really well to role play. You basically have to cast it a character. I have personally used ChatGPT for coming up with project plans, for helping me write blog posts, and then also general brainstorming. Jack, I don't know if you have any, if you've used ChatGPT for any of these use cases, but I know that Canva really helps you with content development.
Yeah, I've the content recently has been very, very specific to like our specific menu and beverage. But I know that once my current GM gets all trained up and I get back to the training field, I will definitely be diving in and expanding more.
Awesome. And then I really loved this tip. Also, Kristen, thank you. Ensure that you use simple language. So no one is trying to ace their SATs. I think that's really funny. I know that we tend to lean in like a professional setting on big words, but simplest is best. I think that AI, the best way that we've tried to instruct it is to write it like a 5th or 6th grade reading level. You get like the most pure output in that sense, and nothing is really misconstrued. And then once you have your first output, then you can say, actually, I'd like to elevate this language further or use more sophisticated language for the exact same training. Cool. And then here are just a few more tips that we got. There's something that stood out to me that was really curious is if anybody is having their IT or legal department and already kind of intervene with the tools that you can use, has anybody had conversations with their IT or legal department around like where and when you can use AI powered tools in your training?
We've had that conversation, and basically it's keep it generic, no company information, nothing that you wouldn't want shared, because once it's out there, so just be careful. You use it as a tool, but don't like abuse it or, get too specific with it where you're putting your company information out there for everyone. So
that's a great call out. Yeah, I think they have disclaimers and privacy policies that you can opt into and out of, but that's a great call out. Anybody else?
I've worked with a handful of organizations, and if you are looking at bringing really rich AI tools, talk to your vendors about where kind of their level of control on proprietary content exists. They're certainly experts and can help. There's also tools if you talk to your IT department. If you're a Microsoft environment, Azure just came out with ways to use these models internally, and they've kind of built out protections to prevent data from bleeding out. So that is a problem that's being solved. And so there are some ways to do that. You just might have to be the bringer of information for those that are really concerned with like, oh, I don't know what to do with this. There are existing solutions and more coming to market.
Amazing. All right, we have a few minutes left. I'd love to open up the floor for general Q&A. Are there any tools that anybody wants to revisit or any questions that you've been sitting on during the session?
Michelle had one question about whether videos could be translated to Spanish or how to do multi-language videos. I've certainly some experience and some thoughts, but I'd love to get any perspective from those of you who've maybe used some of these tools for multi-language environments.
Well, the one thing I can share is that Opus does have the ability, so I could upload a video, whether it's myself or a different video in English. When our employees join Opus, they pick their primary language. So if I upload a video of myself talking about a new menu change, but the team member that's watching it, their preferred language is Spanish. Now it doesn't translate my voice into Spanish, but it will auto translate the captions that go along the video.
Very cool. Yeah, if you're working for a multinational, multilingual organization, there are some solutions. I think Beehive is one of them that HMS Host has been using and Buddy's Kitchens have been using. So there are some solutions. They don't do real-time voice translation, but very simply you can, especially in some of those voice converters, if you have it's text to voice, right? So you can generate multiple versions in multiple languages just by tweaking some of the outputs, but you'll probably have to invest in the multi-language tools for these models, which do exist. So hopefully that answered the question or helped, Michelle, or you can add in with more.
Awesome. Prompting a few more. Yeah. So James Cameron asks, is ChatGPT good for translations as well? Yes, it is. I think that it's always good to have a translator go over your content, especially depending on how you're distributing it. You know, at Opus, like we have our premium content modules, we offer translations across languages, but even for things like sexual harassment prevention, where context is really key in the translation, it does help. We do have like a translator go over and actually read it to make sure that the translations are actually clear and make sense for the context, especially when it's something like sexual harassment prevention training. But if you've ever used Google Translate, that's also technically an AI-powered tool.
I will add that there is an AI tool out there for Colossian. It will translate the text on screen and your audio in one click. So I can show you that if you want to see it.
Yeah, can you drop a link to it in the chat, Kristen?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Well, we're up on time for the webinar session. Thank you everybody so much for joining. I had a great time. This is our first webinar series, webinar of 2023, I think, as Opus. So if you have any feedback, please feel free to send it my way. All registrants will receive a copy of the recording. I can stop recording myself.